B-E-E-R store.com or Fred Crafted Beer Store on Facebook.com. Make it easy. Google Redlands Beer Delivery. Look for Crafted Beer.
Crafted Beer Store in Redlands is now open for business, and I'm here to deliver.
This is Dick from Carpet Masters. Carpet Masters has been serving the Inland Empire for over 60 years. We are locally owned and operated by the Stevens family. We not only clean carpet and furniture, we clean many loose rugs, including Oriental rugs. Oriental rugs are cleaned in our modern facility where the fringes are cleaned by hand, then hung in our modern facility to dry. We do not use steam cleaning to clean your fine furniture. Furniture is cleaned by hand using the same absorption cleaning used in the White House. Some furniture we bring into our plant to clean properly. We normally use 2 men on each cleaning job using the extraction method. There is nothing that would clean carpet better for our customers. Our job is to clean properly with quality first. Google Carpet Masters San Bernardino and give us a call, or go to carpetmasterssocal.com.
If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, call 909-885-8502 or email ceo@kcaaradio.com.
You've tuned in to KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Live and in color from the NBC News Radio broadcasting studios of KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 FM and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful sunny California. Thanks for tuning into the Water Zone today. Good afternoon, I'm Rob Starr, along with my co-host, Mr. Mike Barron, also known around here as Mikeypedia. He's my go-to guy, and together we collectively are known as the Water Boys. Anyway, welcome afternoon, and we're having a good day today.
We absolutely are. It's good to be here. It's nice to turn on the microphone.
Yeah.
So appreciate that technical assistance. But yeah, it's a great day. I was hoping it was going to start raining. You know, we've started the new year for the rain year, and yet, you know, we haven't seen any rain yet. So kind of hoping for that. But as those of us that are seeing or viewing on over the internet, we've kind of adorned the talk table with some.
And to be non-denominational, we're celebrating Festivus.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So, but yeah, we're interested in seeing what's up with water. Yep. Some of the new things that are going on in terms of the state of California, Lake Mead, other areas, and I know we've got a guest to bring us up to date.
Absolutely. We'll bring on in a second. Anyway, for those of you who want to call in, please do. We have some great guests today. Call-in number is 888-909-1050 if you're calling outside that area code, 909-792-5222. And
actually, before we go to our first guest,
yes,
I want to make sure that we let folks know that we have a guest from Chino Basin Water Conservation District that we know a lot about because we participated in various events there and helped them with a very...
Not that we spied on them?
No. We're good partners.
Yes, we are.
And they've really taken education and initiative to the homeowner public really to another level. In fact, I saw a great little video on YouTube about a young group of middle school girls that went on a watershed exploration over multiple days. So I'm going to ask about that. But yeah, if people want to call in and find out what the Chino Basin Water Conservation District is all about.
It's a great facility. I know both you and I taught classes there.
Yep.
And as you know, I'm on the board of directors for the Building Industry Association. We had several meetings that were held at their location. So it's
great facility.
Yep, absolutely beautiful. I remember what it was before, and since they've changed it,
Night and day.
it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. Anybody should really go up there and take a look and see what you can do. It's great ideas for what you can do at your own home. And it's simple. They got smart people that work there. They'll tell you what you need to know, and it's great.
And the focus really is to empower the homeowner to understand what they can do at their own home to be more effective in their use of water, be wiser in the use of water. So
absolutely,
we've got that to look forward to.
Well, we have one of our normal guests on, and speaking of knowing everything about California legislation and water and everything else, it's the purveyor of Maven's Notebook, Miss Chris Austin. Chris, you're up at the Aqua event, right?
Yes, I'm in beautiful Anaheim.
Oh, you're by my house. Well, close.
At the convention center?
Well, it's at the Anaheim Marriott, which is next to the convention center.
Very nice.
So it's been an interesting conference. Not as many compelling panel presentations as there have been in years past or conferences past, but there were some good ones, some very interesting ones. They had a Cal Water Fix panel, and it was pretty much made up of water districts. There wasn't any opposition in the room. And they were talking about the Water Fix project. And I think what was interesting is Jeff Keitlinger, who is the general manager of Metropolitan Water District, said that on the state water project side, because remember in the Water Fix Delta tunnels, there's the federal Central Valley project and the state water project. They're almost half and half on this project. And it's the federal Central Valley project side that has been having problems getting contractors signed on, like Westlands Water District, a very large agricultural district in the Central Valley, actually voted no. But when it comes to the state water project, virtually all, I would say, have voted yes to participate. So Jeff Keitlinger has said on the panel that we've reached critical mass, so we're going to be building something. Don't know what that something is going to exactly look like at this point, but when they were asked about, what about a single tunnel option, they said that's not the way that they would do it. They would build it instead in phases, so they don't have to restart the environmental review and go all over that. So they would build one tunnel and 2 intakes, and then maybe later on, if more people came on, they would build a second tunnel and another intake. So there you go. And to make good on that, I happen to be on the Department of Water Resources website, and they are holding a industry day for the Cal Water Fix project, where they invite all the contractors that might want to bid on the project to come down and look at it, see what it is, and learn about it so they can start preparing their proposals. So something's cooking.
So when you say contractors, I want to distinguish. Do you mean there are water contractors that
no, I mean
construction
like
construction
contractors, people, the tunnel borers and cement pourers and barge drivers, probably everything. There'd be a lot. This would be a major construction project. There would probably be hundreds of entities involved at some point.
Well, I would imagine. I know there's got to be pending lawsuits or lawsuits that are in process. So it's interesting the perspective that Mr. Keitlinger had, that you've reached a critical mass. Maybe he's expecting some resolution to those court cases. Do you have any insight on that issue?
I'm not sure that the courts are going to do what they're going to do, but no one has issued an injunction, and also there's still quite a bit more design to go. So they're not going to be, bulldozers are not heading out to the Delta right now. It's probably going to be a couple years before they could break ground. So the idea is that they're going to continue until a court tells them to stop.
They're probably building the train to nowhere.
They're busy doing that. They're busy doing that. Well, interesting.
Well, it's been Jeff Keitlinger pointed out that they had some litigation on some of their other projects that they did. I think perhaps with the inland feeder, and they just continued, working and it got resolved. But it was before, I believe, that they had actually broken ground, but they just kept designing and resolved the problems, and off they went. So.
Well, just so you know, Chris, we're going to have some people from Wetlands Water coming on in a couple.
Westlands.
Coming on in a couple weeks to talk about their vote, and that should be interesting from their perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a representative there on the panel yesterday, and he was very clear that Westlands voted no on the project, but they voted no because it was kind of looking like they were going to be the only ones to be paying, because all these other contractors were kind of going, no, thank you. But he said it was really over the financing issue, but they still believe in the project. They still think that it needs to be built. And they still want to participate, but they're not going to participate with the financing deal that was presented to them.
Well, as a last comment on the topic of the water fix and the legal challenges, I like to read a statement from this past July from Jay Lund out of UC Davis, and he was calling for a new environmentalism that can redirect and reconcile human activities to better support and even expand habitat for native species. So he's talking about an and solution. We've got to get water for farms and people, and we have to figure out how to do that while we respect the environment and expand the habitat for these native species. But what I like specifically is he talks about this new environmentalism being about diverse interests working together to create more promising environmental solutions. And that idea of what has in the past been considered to be two opposites, two antagonistic perspectives coming together and saying, hey, we got to be on the same team, which kind of echoes what Pat Mulroy had said, right?
You all got to work together. And
either we win together or we lose together.
Right.
But it's not going to be us against them.
And no
anymore.
more that we can't do this. We always have to be positive when we do that.
So that's our pitch for the new environmentalism.
And I throw in there that you really do have to reach across the aisle, and you do need to come to some agreement and have some collaboration and some consensus, because I would say that what we have going on with health care is that example writ large. The Democrats passed that health care bill all on their own, and now that the Republicans are in charge, they want to undo it. And if you don't have both sides buying in, that's what you get.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate for that. I don't know if it's ever going to be changed in the short term.
Well, we will see.
We will see.
Hey, reservoir conditions in the state of California. I was pleased to see that every single reservoir, at least in the ones that
count,
that DWR makes easily accessible on their website. Shasta and Trinity Lake, San Luis Reservoir, New Melones Lake. They're all above their historical averages, and much closer to the full capacity than they have been in the past. Except for, of course, Oroville, which was intentionally drained. Right to allow for the fix. Have you heard anything news?
Now they got cracks in the new spillway.
Well, in the brand new one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they say that there's nothing to worry about. So,
well,
hopefully there. I mean, I don't think we're talking about crevices, but the word is that they've looked at it and they think that it's not a problem.
Well, let's hope that assessment is accurate.
Yeah. Because wouldn't that be a bummer?
It may take 5 or 10 years to kind of replicate the amount of precipitation the state of California received, last season, to test it again.
Cracks, little cracks.
Oh, did we lose you?
I think we did lose her.
Oh, I think she was just going to make a point of saying that the little cracks don't matter on that big of a project. So
I'm here.
Oh, you are?
Hello?
You're back?
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
I'm back. Oh, good. Good.
Sounded like, are you plugged into your power supply?
And no, I don't think I am.
Oh, okay, because it sounded, we heard like a couple times a little buzz.
I have to see.
Unless that's Mike's phone here.
Yeah.
But I can plug in here.
No, you're fine. We heard something that sounded like a little power surge, so we did.
So, any news on Grant Davis is the new director of the Department of Water Resources, and is he starting to visit different sites, or
is he getting his feet wet?
Well,
that's a good one.
Grant Davis has been I think he's a great pick for the job, and he's well liked and well respected in the water industry. He's done a lot of great things up there in Sonoma, which is kind of this area not really touched by the Delta so much. They don't get water from the Delta, so their issues were more on the Russian River. But he actually spent some time in his early years at the Bay Institute, which is an environmental organization, who happens to be currently, very opposed to the tunnels. And Grant Davis is saying we need to build the tunnels. But, this is a difficult issue.
So do you think Grant Davis does have some credibility, pre-existing credibility with the environmental groups?
Oh, yes, very much so. I mean, I think they've really had some, they've been really working on some things on the Russian River and improving things for salmon there. And he does, and he's a very likable guy, so easy to talk to. So I think he's doing really well.
That's great.
It's good to hear some positive news for a change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, one last question to go is, I understand that the environmentalists are now going to sue Trump administration over Cadiz Desert Water Project stuff.
Oh yeah, they're very unhappy about that project. That's been a controversial project for decades, actually.
Yeah.
It really stretches back. Metropolitan's back. I mean, it was even before I started doing water news, I think, maybe early 2000s. Looked at that project, considered it, and then declined it, turned it down. And I don't remember the details around it, but I know it's been going on for a long time, and it's pretty controversial. They think they can pull that water out of the desert, and, they won't cause impacts, and a lot of people think that it will.
Well, it needs to be treated, I think, especially treated. I think there's selenium contamination or something that's pretty significant.
Was it something 6?
Chrome 6?
Yeah.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah, that was the big issue.
So there are challenges there, but boy, it sure is tempting to think about the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of acre feet of water that's just sitting under that desert.
Yep.
Yeah, so they say, but, and they're talking about 50,000 acre feet, but really that 50,000 acre feet is not a lot of water.
But it helps. Yep.
We get 1 million acre feet off the State Water Project, every year. Though that's our entitlement. Metropolitan's entitlement is 1 million. We don't necessarily get that, but it's they don't deliver 100%, but we're getting 65 to 70% of that. So if you think 750,000 acre feet or 50,000 acre feet, you see it's really a relatively small amount.
Yeah.
Right. Well, for our guests that's listening and who want to know more, more about the news, especially in water and what's going on in California, they should look you up at www.mavensnotebook.com. And you also launched another project. If you want to talk about that, and where can people reach you with that?
Yeah, that's the California Water Library,
right.
cawaterlibrary.net.
Excellent. And we urge, because we love what you do and we get a lot of information from you, for people to go to your site, take a look at it, also help contribute to that and make that an ongoing thing, because it's very helpful. I'll tell you, a lot of people who don't know what's going on, once they read your stuff, they become smart.
Water smart.
Water smart.
Hey, Chris, well, thanks so much. We always enjoy catching up with you.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, take care.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to take a little break here and go into our commercials, and we'll be back with some representatives from Chino Basin Water Conservation District, and we'll have some great conversation. So stick around. Don't forget to call in, 888-909-1050, 909-792-5222.
Do you hear it? Springtime! And folks across the country are excited to get their yards ready so they can get outside and kick back again. And with Scott's and Miracle-Gro in your shed, it's easy. Whether you plan to grow spectacular plants and bountiful flowers, or enjoy a thick, healthy lawn all season long, now's the time to get outside and fill... Oh, wait. Do you hear that? The sound of great things to come. It's time to fill your shed with Scott's and Miracle-Gro.
Are you looking for a place to buy your landscape and gardening items? Come visit us at Site One Landscape Supply. We offer a large and quality selection of irrigation, landscape, and outdoor living products such as Toros water-efficient precision nozzles. Site One Landscape Supply has over 30 locations right here in Southern California, and we are the largest national wholesale distributor of landscape supplies in the United States. Site One's knowledgeable and friendly staff is equipped to help you with all your landscape, irrigation, and outdoor living projects. Whether you're redoing your backyard into a drought-tolerant garden or creating a water-efficient landscape for your client, Site One has everything you need, including the latest in water-saving technologies, drought-tolerant plants for your yard, irrigation supplies, fertilizer and weed control products, landscape accessories, hardscape products, outdoor lighting, and much, much more. Visit SiteOne.com to find a store near you or stop by today. Site One. We are stronger together.
Oh, welcome back to the Water Zone with Mike and Rob. Hope everybody's having a great day today. Today is a wonderful day. It was beautiful outside.
It sure was. It sure was. And I'm very excited to be able to introduce the leader of our visitors, Steve Sentes.
El Jefe, the big boss.
That's right. And as executive director, he really oversees the Chino Basin Water Conservation District and their efforts to protect the Chino groundwater basin in order to make sure that current needs are met and future needs are met, which is really the basis of sustainability, is to use the resources in a way that doesn't compromise the future use of those resources. So with that, if you wouldn't mind introducing who you have brought with you, that would be great.
Well, first I'd like to just say, thanks for having us on. You got a great show, and we appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about some of the wonderful things that we do for the community in the region. And I just brought my staff. They've got a unique skill set, and they bring a lot to the agency, so I wanted to bring them in and share some of that. And we'll start right here with you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Becky Rittenberg, Community Programs Manager at Chino Basin Water Conservation District.
Scott Kleinrock, Conservation Programs Manager.
Frankie Sotomayor, Facility and Operations Manager.
Well, I've got to say, the facility looks really good.
Yes, it does.
Anybody that goes there to the kind of the California-friendly or native garden really gets an education. The labeling, the variety of plant material, and just the pleasantness of walking through the paths. I've been there several times, either in training myself or participating in the training. So, hats off to what you accomplished there, because I think that's so key to encouraging homeowners to see what can be done. It's not so typical to understand all the options that are available with those. But let me backtrack a bit, and Steve, if you would share with us kind of the purpose, the goals, the mission of Chino Basin Water Conservation District, give our folks an understanding of what the organization is all about.
Well, I think really what it's all about is, I worked over 3 decades in South Florida in Everglades restoration, and I came to the district, and they're having the Pollination Festival, and there were like 500 kids on campus, and I was just so impressed with what you can do with the younger generation. I think that's where it all starts at. And we went around, we saw the facilities, fantastic garden, and then we went out and saw the percolation basins and the projects, and I was just so impressed. And the governing board is just a great group of people that are on the board for the right reason. They want to make a difference in the community. They're elected, and So it was very impressive. And then when I met our staff, the executive leadership team that I brought with me, and just their skill sets and what they brought and the excitement they create, and I just knew it was a wonderful place to come. And I have a quote here, and I wanted to read it because it kind of shows you. This is out of Chino Valley Champion. It was Friday, July 10th, 1901. 1901. Propagation, conservation, and protection in our watershed should be the motto of every farmer and every citizen, for that matter. All are interested in the water supplies of these mountain areas. That's 1901. And our district originated in 1925, the Chino Basin Protective Association. Eventually, in 1949, we evolved into the Chino Basin Water Conservation District. And it was through the vision and that forward thought process that created the agency, Scott. And the farmers got together. They understood that conservation of water was needed, and also what a lot of folks don't know is that we actually own 8 percolation basins, and you'll hear Frankie talk a little bit about that, but we've recharged millions of gallons of water in the aquifer for water supply. So if it wasn't for that forward thought of farmers from generations ago, we wouldn't be where we're at today. So, and with that, I just want to turn it over to Becky to kind of fill in a little bit.
Well, before you go, I was going to ask on the service coverage.
Go ahead.
Can you tell us about the service area and what whoever's going to do that?
Sure. So we serve the western portion of San Bernardino County, so cities of Montclair in Ontario and portions of Rancho Cucamonga, Upland, Chino, and Chino Hills. And the groundwater basin is the primary drinking water source for over 1 million people here in the western portion of San Bernardino County.
I had to take note of these percolation basins because Rob, for the last 2 years, always makes a big point of why don't we capture the rain when it rains? You know, it all goes out to the ocean. Why don't we do that? And so, you know, I think that's what you're doing, right, with these percolation basins and kind of managing stormwater. So when it's appropriate, maybe someone can comment on that, because I think what I heard you say, Steve, is that it's because of the foresight of these original farmers that land was dedicated for that purpose.
Yeah, you know, we have imported water from the Colorado River. We also have runoff from the mountains, snow melt, and now they're actually using treated wastewater. And so all that, you know, is done through partnerships and everybody working together for the betterment of the community. And I think when you take a closer look at, you know, our mission and kind of how we got there, you'll have a better understanding of that. And with that, again, I'll turn it over to Becky. I hate to keep doing that.
Sure. Yeah, so starting in 1949, as this coalition got together and built this special district, the emphasis was really on conservation in terms of water storage and replenishment of the groundwater table. What's happened over the decades is the agency has really evolved to do that, to think about stormwater capture, to think about these networks of percolation basins along especially the San Antonio Channel over on the western side of San Bernardino County, but also to really think about how we can develop a community of conservationists in some ways. How can we inspire a conservation ethic among our community members? Because without that, we can't really think about a water resilient future. So the mission of the agency has evolved to really promote the public stewardship of our groundwater aquifer through demonstration projects, through education programs, and also through those percolation basins, whether it happens in the centralized percolation pits, but also what can we do in more distributed projects and programs. So as we think more about green infrastructure and low impact development, how can that play a role in stormwater capture as well?
Just a quick question. I've become familiar with the watershed approach to landscaping design. Is that something that fits in with, you know, the basin's efforts, educational efforts?
Absolutely. I'll let Scott answer that.
Yeah, Scott has a great background in this. Why don't you tell him a little about your background?
Yeah. So my background is in horticulture as well as landscape architecture. Academically, all of it in my practical experience based on kind of Inland Valley, Southern California, really born and raised in all of my professional work. And it's great. I've been at Chino Basin for just about a year, and it was great to come to the facility that Frankie manages and to see our site just starting at the demonstration. Our headquarters is on 4.5 acres, all designed to capture 100% of the water that falls in up to a 10-year, 24-hour storm event. And, we went out there in our rain gear in this last rainy season and really saw it performing. But it not only does that, but it does that while looking beautiful, and we're providing habitat for native songbirds and butterflies, and at a variety of scales that show what can be done both like at a commercial scale as well as at a home scale. And this site not only is a great thing by itself, but is really integrated into all the programming that we do for everyone from homeowners to community members to working with the San Bernardino County Master Gardeners, to working with professionals as well. And traditionally, we've done a lot of irrigation management training with professionals, but we're moving more into looking at really best practices in planting design, in site design, and in maintenance as well, as we really live in this new era of even state regulated now for commercial scale projects with MWELA, where some much more innovative landscapes are going in, and local water requirements in terms of stormwater capture, but really making sure that our local workforce is also trained to be able to keep up with these kinds of landscapes and really have them be things that our communities can celebrate and thrive.
It's really a different paradigm for landscape design than maybe what a lot of the workers grew up with. They learned a lot on the job, and so it's been turf and then planter areas, and now we're looking at a more integrated approach, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and it's a really exciting time to be working in that space because it's really can be a win-win for everybody. Right now, there's a kind of lag because a lot of people haven't been trained in how to maintain this new paradigm of plants and approaches to landscape. But if we can help fill the gap with that training, these new gardens that are going in can be great places to work. The maintenance requires a more nuanced approach, but all of a sudden, trained maintenance professionals can be working in gardens full of habitat and birds and butterflies and doing, you might go to a site less often, but you're doing more detailed work and you're spending less time behind a mower or a string trimmer and more time doing kind of a more professional, not to say that the other thing isn't a professional skill set, but a more nuanced kind of landscape maintenance that's really a pleasure to do, as well as a new skill set to be able to expand your market.
It seems to me one of the benefits of that approach is also to reduce the waste that comes out of a garden and has to go into landfills, or maybe now today it's mulched or maybe reprocessed. But is that part of your thinking as well, as kind of the reduction perhaps of CO2 creation and waste coming off a
Yeah, that can definitely be part of it, and it's one of what we really see as a multi-benefit approach. So we're a water conservation agency, and that's the core of everything that we do. But if the idea of doing conservation because it's the right thing, was enough, we'd be living in a very different world, and your guests would be talking about very different things a lot of the weeks that you have them on. And so conservation for itself is important, but the potential, less green waste, CO2 reduction, maintenance professionals might be visiting a site, 4 times a year for major maintenance instead of needing to come and mow, once a week. So less trips traveled, more time on each site. All of these things, the habitat aspects, the just personal interaction and being able to see all this life on these sites. These are all the multiple benefits that really, help sell and help the public really embrace all of the multiple benefits of these water conserving landscapes. And so we talk a lot about those as well.
And you have energy reduction and stuff for that. But let me ask you, on the water irrigation side, I know that your organization goes out and does audits, performs audits for homeowners and residents and such. So they come for training, you go out and do the audits, you obviously monitor that from their water bills month to month or year to year. What happens, just like in MWELA, Mike and I go to some of those meetings all the time, and one of the concerns that everybody has, okay, so you do all of this up front, and then who's going to make sure that over time that those people are still going to remember what they have to do or to manage it correctly?
Yeah, how do you manage that water budget on the second year and third year and fourth year, someone paying attention? My argument is that's where the water agencies need to make sure they have a budget-based tiered rate, or perhaps a tiered rate that basically gets the homeowners or the commercial property owners' attention when that excessive water use starts to hit them in the pocketbook. More people pay attention, but then again, that's a politically sensitive issue as well.
Because we see, sorry, just to interrupt, we see a lot of people, when they come to your organization or others, that the first thing we ask them is, hey, did you do an audit on your facility? Do you have clogged nozzles? Are your heads to grade level? Is your programming on your controller correct? Do you have leaks? A lot of people, if they go and take care of the basic stuff first, can reduce their usage of water. And then as they get trained by your organization what to look for, then they can go out and do periodic checks to make sure that stays good. A lot of people always use the word, like with smart controllers, you set it and forget it. Well, that's not necessarily true. Doesn't always work that way. So what do you do to combat those things, or to go into that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting challenge, and it's something that we're constantly talking about and trying to refine our audit program, and finding that right balance between how much staff time can we spend at a small agency on any one site long term, how much tracking can we do, and really trying to find that optimal balance. And so for a single residential property, we'll do an audit, we'll make recommendations, we'll actually test flows and come up with a site-specific, plant-specific timer setting for each zone for them. And then we'll track for post-use. We do detailed tracking on a year afterwards and a little bit farther on. We always use that as that point of connection as well to try to integrate people into our other programs, make sure that they, if they're interested, come for classes and try to have ongoing connections for them. And what we've seen year over year is we're looking at about an 8% on average reduction in water use from doing those audits, and that's averaging people who don't end up doing much. People have had everything turned off, and their water use actually goes up some, but maybe not as much as it might go otherwise. We've made a lot of changes to our audit program, so we're hoping to improve that, and it'll be just coming up on about a year since we've made some changes to track that. And we try to let people know that we're here to help them in the future. If they make major changes to their irrigation system, we'll come back and do another audit for them. Beyond that, we've really made an effort to start working on larger scale projects, working with local municipalities, working with homeowners associations, some of which, water is their major expense.
Yeah, big hitters.
And we've identified the same need. So what we're trying to figure out internally right now is, what is that long-term relationship? We have an HOA that's really excited to put in all the recommendations based on our audit. How do we keep a relationship going with them where we can help them to stay on track? And so we're trying to figure that out right now, just like a lot of other people are.
Do you provide, or do you have any online real-time software that somebody like an HOA or a homeowner can access almost every day and see what's happening?
Oh, you mean to see how much water they're consuming?
Right. I mean, I'll use one of your old things that you say, which I think is fantastic. When you go put gas in your car, you see immediately how much dollars you're spending to fill the gas tank. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, when you use water, you don't see it till the end of the month, or 2 months when you get your bill.
Yeah, there's a delay between action and payment, and that's a behavioral issue that was brought up at a presentation back at probably 5 years ago at Southern Nevada Water Authority that I thought was interesting. And of course, as a manufacturer of irrigation products, we're looking at, when you go to your controller, give the homeowner ability to say, hey, how many gallons am I going to use on that next cycle or this month? And give them the ability to input their water costs or their tiered rate structure, and then so they're getting that information. I think real-time information will impact behavior. Not necessarily you don't have to just lay down the law and say this is what you must do, but if we get information, we kind of say, hey, what can I do to reduce this total? So, but Frankie, I want to turn over to you for a minute, just because the facility looks great. Someone once told me that the actual architecture design of the facility represents a watershed or something like that. I don't know if that's something that you've heard discussed, but why is it important for Chino Basin Water District to maintain that garden the way they do the demonstration garden, do you think?
Well, it was mainly designed for a resident a homeowner to go there and get ideas on how to implement ways to create the landscape more efficient, basically, for water efficiency. So we wanted to focus on capturing all the water on site, like Scott mentioned that, which we do. We capture 100% of it. We went out there in our rain gear and noticed that. So that's something that we wanted to share to the residents and actually spread that out there, that they can do it themselves as well. So we get professionals that come in there, they get ideas that they can implement that as well. But also, I actually wanted to just comment back on the basins.
Sure.
And you mentioned earlier when we first started that you're seeing all this runoff happen on the streets when we get storm events. But actually, our basins are connected to storm drain channels that are like the city storm drain. All of our basins are connected to that. So we are able to capture storm runoff through that. We also have the creeks that run the concrete channels that are connected to our basins that we're able to collect our storm runoff through there as well. Urban nuisance flow, constantly collecting that. And also through these channels, we're able to get imported water from Northern California that we do replenish that as well. And recycled water. Some of our basins are capable of collecting recycled water as well.
So I just want to make sure I understood that correctly. So you're saying, like, in the street with the gutters, when the water goes in there, that's collected?
Yes.
And then transferred to these percolation basins?
Correct.
Wow, that's, I mean... Yeah.
So we
someone, someone was really thinking ahead.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't just
Scott.
Can you teach the rest of the...
When I came here and Frankie took me out and looked at the basins, I was just so impressed with his knowledge of the projects and the stuff he does. We actually have a new division called the Project Management and Operations Division, which Frankie heads up with his team. The amount of work that they do right now enhancing the basins that they're working on is incredible. And I didn't mean to cut you off, Frankie, but I just want to tell you that. And I'm very impressed with what he does and what his team does every day.
Sounds like a good time to ask for a raise.
Right. So the water's not going to waste. We're actually doing our part in collecting it to replenish our aquifer.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so I got to ask, I mean, because I'm thinking once the developments, once the city's developed, it would be very difficult to go back and connect all this. So this had to be done kind of at the beginning, I would think. But I don't know if you've got any thoughts, or any of you have any thoughts on that.
Well, urban stormwater retrofits is more difficult than you do in the original construction, but it can be done. And actually, we're looking at projects right now to do more storage and water quality type things. And another aspect of our agency that I think is real exciting is, again, it's the younger generation. Today we had 2 bus loads of second graders in, and I was out, and they were talking about the bees and pollination, and you can just see the kids' faces light up. And Becky heads up that group, and she's got an outstanding group of staff members that work really hard on it. And she's doing some really neat things with the high school kids where they're doing some water quality monitoring that. And then I'll let you talk a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, because I want to know, was it in your area of responsibility where those middle school girls came in for the challenge? And tell us. So go ahead, share what your department does.
Sure. So we work with audiences of all ages, but really are focusing on K through 12, the next generation. And it's such an interesting time in California's education system, as well as our water system, in terms of the new standards that have come out, the next generation science standards, which schools are now adopting, and having to bring on new curriculum, bring on really new teaching practices, so that students, when they think about science, are no longer just memorizing vocabulary terms and memorizing diagrams, but really being active scientists and really being engineers and going through those practices. So we think about water conservation and we think about watershed literacy. You say a watershed approach to landscaping. Most people don't know what a watershed is. So even when you bring that term up to homeowners, they may have no idea what that means. Is that a shed with water in it? A lot of people think that. So
like a water closet.
Yeah. So starting back with the younger generation and really building that watershed literacy in terms of where our water comes from, building a sense of place around this amazing watershed that we do live in. I mean, how many communities get to have a mountain and an ocean within an hour's drive in their watershed? So trying to bring light to that by empowering teachers to really think about how they can take this water conservation content and do really neat science and engineering practices with their students, and building that sense of place around the native plants that we have in our garden, the pollinators we have in our garden, and then building that attitude change around, well, water is really important. It takes a lot of effort to get it to our taps. Once it gets there, how can we conserve? What are some skills that we can learn in our programs? But also, what can we do to challenge students to think of their own solutions in their communities and at their schools? So one pilot that we did last summer was this camp for middle school girls called Girls Who Solve Watershed Expedition. So we actually partnered with San Bernardino Community College District and worked with one of their instructors to bring 20 middle school girls on a week-long day camp where they started in the headwaters up by Mount Baldy and eventually worked their way down to Huntington Beach and explored our streams, explored some of our water infrastructure along the way, took water quality data, collected data to even submit back to scientists through citizen science to learn more about our watershed. But then their last day, they were challenged to come up with a solution. So they saw different impacts along the way. What creative solutions could they propose to make a difference? And one of my favorites was the student who was obsessed with the macroinvertebrates, so essentially water bugs. You know, we're turning over stones, looking at what different types of aquatic habitats there are. And she noticed, you know, as we move downstream, you see less and less of the species that are really intolerant to pollution. So she was also really into like beanie babies, like those little stuffed animals. So she created all these models of these different macroinvertebrates that live in the headwater streams and these healthy streams that she wasn't seeing downstream. And her idea was that she would sell them to fundraise money to go back to watershed restoration efforts. And she's still trying to make it happen. So she's been interviewing different designers. Anyways, so those are the types of programs that we really try to promote. Relevant, authentic, student-centered programs that also are empowering teachers to think about ways to bring on all of these new standards and bring water content into that.
Are they easier to teach the kids than the adults?
Oh, this is a good question.
Because you have you have conservation classes and things for adults. We've been there.
Yes.
Yeah, but we don't make it as you know, as real life as what you just described.
Yeah.
So. Well, it's interesting in our field trip programs because we have chaperones come along. So on top of reaching, I think, about 6,500 students a year through our field trip programs. Wow. We also reach about 700 adults through the teachers and the chaperones that come. And, you know, they're right there in it for the field trip programs. They're on the edge of their seat or they're looking at the garden, taking notes just as much as the students are. So
I've got to ask, so, you know, to have a day camp for 4 or 5 days, someone has had to think about, you know, what are we going to do when, what questions are we going to ask, what are we going to have them read, et cetera, et cetera. Is that something that Chino Basin cooperated with, you know, some other organization to develop that approach, or was this kind of experimental? We're just going to we know what we want to do, we're just going to try to do it.
This was a bit experimental. I had done similar things back in Idaho where I was prior to moving to Southern California. But we worked closely with a lot of partners. The Inland Empire Waterkeeper is doing some really neat things with students within this watershed, as well as we worked with Forest Service. We worked with some of the conservancies down by the coast. So we pulled together a lot of different resources and water quality protocols that are being used in the area. But
so you work with Megan Broussard?
Yeah, we worked with Megan Brousseau a bit, and we worked with Mary Walls, who also heads up the California Regional Environmental Education Cooperative in the area. So we had some great partners.
Well, I can see why you wanted to bring your team. I mean, everyone kind of really has some specific talents and are doing multiple, you know, different things to really be effective in the overall effort.
Right, Scott. I think you can just hear the excitement in their voices, and they bring so much to the agency. Just having a wonderful staff to work with, and it is real refreshing and fantastic ideas, and they're hard workers, and I think they're really making a difference with the younger generation and in the community in the region, and very good at forming partnerships and relationship building, and it's just been a wonderful experience. I really wanted to have them here to talk about the things that they work on because they do such a wonderful job for the agency.
Well, the event that we participated in a couple of months ago, you want to talk about that? And you've done that every single year for God knows how many years. I know I participated in the last 12 years doing it, but it brings a lot of homeowners a lot of residents of people that walk through. I know you have all kinds of games for the kids and pumpkin decorating contests and things of that. But what do you see that the adults get out of all of that?
Well, I think it's just getting out and meeting everybody and seeing all the different agencies and what they bring. And again, it's everybody working together and everybody setting up, including you and all the tents and all the different agencies there working together to get the message out. And I think just getting them out to see the facilities and the things that we do. And just having a lot of knowledge about what they're talking about, and people like to hear about it, and just a lot of wide variety of things to do, and it's for all ages, and it was very successful, and these are the people that put it together. It makes my job very easy, and I guess you want to talk a little bit about it, not to put you on the spot again, but it's your event, and you do a great job on it.
Yeah, well, it's led by a committee of all of the water agencies in the region, and we coordinate it. And I think it really showcases our site at its best. So if you haven't been to the Water Conservation Center, it's in Montclair, and it's incredible. It's a 4.5-acre campus. There's a demonstration garden as well as a park, and also a view of the percolation pit. So if you're ever curious about learning more about
I've never,
they should give the address.
Oh, yes.
4594 San Bernardino Street.
Or you can Google Chino Basin Water Conservation District.
That's right. Yeah, Scott, did you want to talk more about homeowners at the festival, or?
Sure. I was going to say two things really quick. Also, so we're a public facility, free and open to the public, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. So our demonstration gardens are open all those hours, so people are welcome to come. And sure, I'll talk a little bit. For what I think homeowners get out of events like that is, it's a celebration of conservation, and really part of our vision for conservation, and conservation done what I consider right, or conservation done well. It's not just about how many gallons did we save, and it's not just about tightening the belt because it's the right thing to do. It's really embracing conservation as something to celebrate, within the community and with each other, where these changes in our lives can enrich our lives as well. It can make our communities and our personal spaces more beautiful. It can provide, all of these additional benefits. And when we have opportunities to do that, it's also, these events are times to not only demonstrate, but to celebrate that, with the people who are around us, and kind of envision what our communities can be like if we build more places like this, and those additional benefits.
Well, that's very consistent with what I've seen. I mean, Rob and I have had the opportunity through the direct participation in these kind of conservation events at a number of different water agencies or conservation districts, but also just seeing that there's this desire to be helpful, not punitive, with respect to what a water agency does. And I always marvel at just the fact that consumers tend to see that, at least the ones that I've talked to.
Well, they got the fire in the belly, the passion. You can hear it from their voices right now. I mean, they're exciting about it. And that's
no, I had never heard that before, that the celebrate part of it. But, if we are going to be successful in transferring that water ethic to the next generation, I think that passion and that interest in how we do that together as a community really will resonate more, with that younger group. But I want to go back to Frankie for a second, only because I know from a maintenance standpoint, so many times there are garden makeovers, and yes, there's beautiful plants that are picked and installed and drip irrigation, but is there a need to also educate around irrigation techniques? Because if you have a native plant, in my mind, in nature, a native plant doesn't get any water in the summer, right? Because if it's native and it's summer, it's not raining typically. Whereas in the winter, it does get rain. So I'm just wondering if you might comment, kind of, was there a learning process from maybe more traditional gardening procedures to what you do today?
They used artificial flowers, so
artificial native plants. Hey, that's a new market. I like that.
There's always issues when it comes down to maintenance, whether it's going to be on the plant material or the irrigation. For example, talking about the California natives, there we first did the installation with drip, and we still had to get our native plant material established throughout the summer months and going into the winters. But throughout that time, our site is connected to recycled water, just to mention that. So it was surrounded by drip system. So we found the difficult challenge of actually leaching our soils, because what was happening was it was actually accumulating too many salts in our native plant material, which natives don't like that. Yep. So we actually had to change out the irrigation system and go to an overhead that actually worked out for us now, because now we're not watering during our summer months. Our plant material is established, so now we're waiting for the winter months to actually get their water needs through that.
I met a CLCA contractor, Greg Rubin, and he was a self-taught landscaper. Have you ever heard of him? But he's an awesome guy. Yep. And he always told me, he said, Mike, how are native plants irrigated in nature? Rain.
Overhead.
Yeah, it is overhead.
That's what you should do, when you supplement it. But hey, we're coming here close to the end of our show. But any last comment from any of you that you want to communicate to the listening public?
One quick resource plug that really ties in with irrigation and plants and soon maintenance is we launched a website in the spring called the Inland Valley Garden Planner, inlandvalleygardenplanner.org, which is a searchable database with profiles of 350 appropriate plants for the Inland Valley conditions, with pre-selected information about how they should be irrigated, and within the year we'll also have maintenance information on all of them for homeowners. So,
and what was that site again?
That's inlandvalleygardenplanner.org. And it's kind of a living project, and we're constantly adding more resources to it. It's got some pretty unique features, so I hope people will check it out.
Well, on behalf of Mike and I in the Water Zone, we certainly appreciate you guys coming in and talking about what you do and getting our listeners more on board to what you do. And we certainly love participating with you in lots of events, and hope to be working with you more in the future.
I would think you guys put on a workshop, for other agencies, because really this comprehensive approach and listening to each one of you and how you and your group contribute to the overall effort again, I can see why you wanted to bring them out here. So, yeah, we're very impressed and kind of re-energized our desire to continue to do whatever we can as Toro to support your efforts. So, thank you very much.
Yeah,
and
thanks
keep
for
up the
having us
great
on
work.
the show. We really appreciate it, Scott.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks to our listeners, and again, thanks to you. And remember, the most important thing to do this week is to think blue, because
on Spaceship Earth, we are all crew. That's actually stolen from Buckminster Fuller. So,
good night, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
This is Dick from Carpet Masters. Carpet Masters has been serving the Inland Empire for over 60 years. We are locally owned and operated by the Stevens family. We not only clean carpet and furniture, we clean many loose rugs, including Oriental rugs. Oriental rugs are cleaned in our modern facility where the fringes are cleaned by hand, then hung in our modern facility to dry. We do not use steam cleaning to clean your fine furniture. Furniture is cleaned by hand using the same absorption cleaning used in the White House. Some furniture we bring into our plant to clean properly. We normally use 2 men on each cleaning job using the extraction method. There is nothing that would clean carpet better for our customers. Our job is to clean properly with quality first. Google Carpet Masters San Bernardino and give us a call, or go to carpetmasters.com